Man, what do you got like that that the Michael Jackson microphone? Your voice is all deep and boomy and sexy and amazing.
Is it? No, I'm just using the Mac, the built-in Mac microphone, to be honest.
Okay, cool.
My voice is probably
So, have you ever taken a routine 1 degree too far?
like I should come
Like maybe
prepared,
it was
but
like actually better before you changed it, perhaps, you know?
I probably have. I'm just trying to give an example because I've thought a lot about that because, for those who are listening, 1 degree is the title of my book from 10 years ago. But it's all like small and near effortless micro shifts you can make in your magic that make it stronger, right? And Yeah, but not every small change is a 1 degree change. It has to meet a certain number of criteria, right? And it has to be a small change that there is a bigger outcome. But maybe sometimes that you don't get that outcome you would expect. There's many ideas where it like looks so good on paper, like oh my God, this is so good. Then you do it, which is just the importance of like you got to take it from the paper to the or the screen to the stage, basically, right? And I'm sure it's like so I thought would be a great moment. This wasn't. And if I think of an example, I'll give you one. But um, yeah, but there was, there's in another. I'll flip it around a little bit. Were times where a failure informed a 1 degree change, and it's one of my effects on the Brainstorm DVDs. It's called Gemini prediction, and basically your spectators are cutting to four packets. They turn them over, and I'm like, let's see how lucky we are. The ace of clubs, five of diamonds, king of spades. It looks like I failed, but at the end, I predicted this outcome, even these random cards. But it happened because I was trying to do just, Gemini mates from like Alan Eckerman and several others. I mean, there's a lot of people in that, and I didn't find the aces. I was just performing for friends, and I just totally failed. I don't know what happened, and I don't know even how I recovered. I probably found the aces in another way afterward, but I realized that that moment of drama was so cool. Maybe actually make that the trick, So now that these business cards entered in the deck, on the back of it have a prediction, which is like, it's kind of a cool thing. But yeah, so sometimes I don't know if ever a 1 degree idea failed, but certainly a failure has created a 1 degree change to make an effect stronger. So
John, how does your process for writing music differ from, or creating music, I should say, differ from creating magic?
oh man. Um there's a lot of similarities. I mean, I think I actually had a set of lecture notes called G notes. And I'm sure Buck's coming up with all kinds of other analogies in a G note, sound G string. But the G notes is all about that similar creative process of music and magic and um, finding a hook that's memorable. I think that's one of the big things, right? So creatively, though, I think ideas for music and magic kind of come to me at all different times, as we all do, and what do we write them down. So I literally have tons of like notes, memo notes on my phone. It's a lot of me just singing. I never play it for anybody. They're like this. I like this melody idea, and I'll hum it in there, and I go okay. And then I'll come back later and revisit it, and adding a chord, adding So there's music's just building upon notes, and there's only 12 notes, but we build upon different chords and layers and melodies and harmonies. And magic's a similar thing. You come up with an idea and you layer presentation and other things around it. So I guess in my mind, it's a very similar process. So I maybe in the car thinking, leaving a memo note because I'm singing a part that I don't want to forget. Magic, I'll likely write down something or I'll sketch out something because that's more of a visual thing, not an audible thing. Um, but I think the process is pretty similar. Like, what hook am I going to get that I want somebody to hear a song and keep humming that melody over and over again. I also want them to keep remembering that moment. So, um, but I'll just kind of close it. A lot of people say, "How do you find the time?" Because I have a day job that's like leading philanthropy and making a difference in communities, like life-changing difference, and I'm a magician and musician as well, and like but they all kind of coming from the same place, When I do a lot of fundraising, I want to captivate their mind and I would captivate their imaginations. Same with magic and music. So it's not really a matter of time. It's just a matter of they're all coming from the same place. I don't look at it as separate buckets in my like I have to find time for each one of these to sometimes all three of them kind of come together in a cool way. So it's a creative focus, right? It's like you hear something in your head and you want to bring it to life. So I mean, magic also. I mean, there's people could love music and then they could also compose and perform music. People could love magic. They could also invent or perform. So there's, the idea of having an idea and taking it from concept to completion is probably the biggest benefit. Others may just have a more limited scope, and it's fine. They're amazing performers who buy your products and buy my books because they want great material. They're also great people who invent magic, but they would, by their own admission, are not performers, right? So, whatever lane you are, take that on. But I think, and we all enjoy, I specifically enjoy the whole process of creating, writing, composing magic, composing music, and then bringing it to life and actually performing it the way I hear it in my head. 'Cause, and I think the final nuance here is that it's at the end of the day, it's not just about the notes. It's about the inflection, about the vibrato, about how hard you hit the percussion, or what pace you do the sampling in. But it's those things you can't really teach on, even in magic, right? What are those moments of those notes that you hit? Um, and I mean, I try in my books to kind of elevate a little bit. Like in One Degree, talked about the audience connection, those things. But anyway, I think it's not just the notes or the slights. It's about like how you execute them, that plays well for both music and magic. There's a certain pride, yeah, knowing that you created that trick, and we don't often get the opportunity to let people, and it doesn't matter to the audience really, like, I invented this trick, or I put some pieces together of existing classics of magic, and I created this new, presentation of it or whatever it is, and we get the pride for knowing we did that and seeing their reaction to it. Music's a little bit different. Like I don't often infuse music into my show, like live playing, but I do my Vino Aces, the McDonald's Aces with the wine glasses, but to a song I've written because it's very theatrical. So I did the close-up room at the castle, and after I did it the first few times, and people said that like, was that you playing? And I said, yeah, it was, because they knew I was a guitarist, or I mentioned that briefly. Like, oh, that's so cool. And I realized I should make it more of a point that that's me playing, because I think they appreciate that, but not going too far. Like, hey, look at I. Yeah. So it's a really tricky way to present it. But now the way I typically present it, and it's all true stuff. Like I said, the song is very Italian sounding, and I'm Italian, so I wrote like Spanish flamenco, but this particular song I do Vino Oasis to is Italian, like it's called Venezia, Venice. But I thought I'm going to take you all on a trip to Venice. I was there a few years ago, and I thought, well, what it might be like to take you there from the comfort of your own seats here in the close-up room. And I said, when I got back from Venice in 2017, I put my cards away for about a month. I picked up my guitar, and I just wrote this melody, kept playing in my head, and I composed a song that I'll play with you for you in a moment. But it just reminded me being in Venice, and I want you to experience that too. And then also, then I bring out the cards and aces and etc. And then there's wine, or vino as we call it. And then so now imagine yourself on a gondola ride, sipping some wine, and listening to a song I wrote just for you. And I go right into it. But that's the way I present it. It doesn't seem cocky at all, and it's not. But it's like a gift, right? So anyway, but I had to work for a little while just to come up with just the right way to say it. But at the end, it's like if they're transported to Venice, and it's just a card trick, right? But none of this is just none of these things. It's never just a card trick. It's never just a SpongeBob routine. It's a moment. And sometimes we need to deliver that for them, because they may have a limited view of what magic is, and that's fine. You meet people where they are. And it's like they may think, oh, you're not gonna fool me, or like, whoa, I bet it must be fun to fool people. And I used to take offense to that, because magic's what's more than that. But I mean, it's not their fault that that's all. So now is our opportunity to show them what magic really truly could be. And I think that's another pride that comes out of it, right? So, and they leave entertained, they leave being touched, they leave maybe with the feeling that anything in their life is possible now. And like, so I think that's really why I love magic the most.
Man, that story alone like had me feeling sentimental, dude.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
nice. Like, and I think part of it was because of the way you worded it, like you said, and here it goes along with the song that I wrote for you, right?
Yeah.
Because and it's true. It's not like you just wrote it,
Right.
So
Right. Yeah.
that was nice. I really like that.
Cool. Thanks. All right. What else you got for me? So they've been really creative questions. I like it. So,
I love that I love that you just brought that up because my next question is, everybody knows how everybody got their start in magic,
yeah.
but how do you foresee your ending? That could
Uh,
be literally your last moments, or it could be your legacy.
you know what? In many ways, felt I've already reached it. I mean, honestly, at the Magic Castle library, having a book or two that are in there right now, like it's to me, it's ongoing. It's a legacy. It's going to outlast me. So having, one degree in particular, because that's the most robust hardcover book I have, and I've, I think every day I have this notion like, okay, if for some reason I ended Magic today, like would I be happy with it? So I don't just look at the end game. I look like every day is a new time to create that legacy. So I don't look at it as this one big thing at the end. But like, have I accomplished everything I want to do? And it's all just an ongoing mentality. But so in many ways, if for some reason I was pulled from this earth, I think I've left a legacy. But I think there's a lot more to offer. So, but I think I just to be known as a creator, an author, and someone who brought wonder to people's lives. But it transcends magic. I mean, I tell you, we're not just defined by what we do, but who we are. And I'm really open on Facebook and LinkedIn with a different lens, but about who I am. And on LinkedIn, I'll share leadership tips and things on branding and philanthropy, but also uh, include a song. Here's a new song I wrote. Here's a creative break for all of you, and I'll tie it back to this holistic mission. So, um, my mission. Through all I do, through philanthropy, through music, through magic. And it's just 5 words, but it took me forever to land on it. It's that I want to connect people to the extraordinary. And every day I think that's my barometer. Have I done that today? And if I haven't, or if I'm asked to do some other project and it doesn't deliver, then it feels incongruent. But when it in a gel, like, okay, yeah, this is what I'm meant to do. So um, I guess a big broader answer to question is that, I've come up with a unifying life mission, and I always encourage other people to do that as well. Because I run into people who have a lot of bits of their life. I mean, you mentioned music and magic. There's other areas we talked about family before we kind of joined in this as well. But there's probably other things that you value and everything. And there might be times you feel like you're pulled in all these different directions. But there's an aha moment in my life where I like realized why all these different things are happen for a reason. I'm intentionally drawn to these things, and they're not pulling me away. They're pulling me towards something. So what is that? So I always encourage people to think of all those different facets, those different passions and interests in their life, and like what brings them all together. So for me, it was to connect people to the extraordinary, and so, but I always encourage other people to kind of come up with that for themselves. Maybe it'll be different. Maybe they're an adventure seeker. I remember I did this talk. I do a lot of keynote speaking as well, and sometimes I'll infuse magic into it. But depending on the event, it'll be more leadership with a few moments of magic to elevate the points. And I'll talk about personal branding, for example. And then this lady asked, "Can I ask a question?" She goes, "I don't know what my personal brand is. I just have trouble. I said I'm a single mom. I got laid off during the pandemic, and I feel like I don't know what my purpose is." And then so just in front of everybody, I'm just asking her a question. I was like, well, "What else do you love to do?" She goes, "I honestly I loved like I'm a sword fighter." I go, "What, like fencing?" She's not even I'm fencing. They're bigger swords. Like, oh, that I've never heard that in my life. That sounds so interesting. And then I said, "Look at this. Look, you're a single mom. You're a sword fighter. You're here at this event for AmeriCorps, which is a volunteer. You're volunteering your time, even though I said so. To me, your brand that you are a warrior. And then like she just started crying during the call, and other people started as well because I saw her for what she is, but she didn't even see it. So and it's like sometimes we're so close to it, and all these different things, and she felt lost. And then I think at that moment she felt like, whoa, yeah, I am a warrior. Like in a very literal sense, holding a sword, but also, raising her child and volunteering and trying to be better and stuff. So anyway, okay, yeah, I went on a long tangent as well, but I think it's kind of cool. If anybody listening just kind of thinks about, instead of being pulled in different directions, being pulled to the same direction, and come up with that core unifying mission statement, and that would often be your legacy if you do that.
John, you shared a lot of like pretty incredible stuff, but let's get down to the brass tacks. Red deck or blue deck?
Blue decks. I just like blue. Yeah. I just have these in front of me right now. I have a Monarch blue and a Phoenix blue. Yeah. I answered visually. I didn't even know. But uh yeah, I like blue. Number one, I like blue. But I also I'll do a few tricks that have a stranger card, for example. Like truth in advertising, or another trick out called virus. And I think when that pops, a red back as a stranger card pops better and allows you to write a message on it as opposed to a blue stranger in the red deck. So there's a very practical reason why I like that as well. Yeah. Let me see. Well, let's do one with now. What the heck? So um, just to refresh your memory. So, okay, cool. So I work. I work in marketing, advertising, and philanthropy, all the whole deal. And then, so I'll teach you like three ways you can not get sucked into these advertising scams. Because let's face it, we've probably all been, um, bought something on the infomercial at a moment of weakness, right? So the first rule is make sure you have a free choice in whatever you purchase, or in this case, card you choose. So I know you're there, but just say stop whenever you want.
Stop.
And that is a free choice. It doesn't matter. The spectator would choose that. Okay. That's rule number one. You choose a free card. Make a free choice. The second is don't judge a product by its packaging. Everything you assume this deck was normal, but I just only showed you the blue backs. I never showed you the face of it. So it really didn't matter what card you would choose, because this is like a deck of empty promises. No matter which one card you chose. Actually, you did choose the only card I wanted you to choose, the Ace of Spades, the only printed card in the pack. Which brings us to rule number three, and that's to watch out for subliminal advertising. Those are those messages that happen. We don't realize we see it. Like when I said, say stop, you didn't realize there was a very subtle, just a subtle subliminal message saying, pick me, pick me. Now that you know to look for it, it stands like a sore thumb, but you guys didn't even notice it before because it was so subtle, right? I mean, how else am I going to get you to pick the only printed card of the pack, the Ace of Spades? It's the only card with printing on it. Well, the fourth unwritten rule is don't believe anything from a guy like me, because I'm a magician and everything's been an illusion, because you didn't just pick the only printed card in a blank deck. You picked the only blank card in a completely printed deck. There you go.
Dude, that's so sick.
Anyway, so that's the first book in one degree, but but you could see how, from a very practical sense, that pops in a blue deck. So yeah,
Dude,
but anyway, a few things I just want to highlight, and I didn't even know I was going to do today. I just love the trick. Number one, it has an international hook. Everybody's connected to advertising, and sometimes I'll add more presentation. Like, did you know we're exposed to like 15,000 advertising messages every day, which is nuts, right? All around us, right? So we talked about in the beginning of the talk today about hook, a musical hook or a magical hook. It's a relatable hook. We're all exposed to advertising. Um, Secondly, a presentation could kind of follow along, a lot of magic along the way. From a very practical standpoint, I have added just one card to this trick that does all the work. It's a completely normal deck, and I have one card that does all the work, and it becomes part of the presentation. I naturally take it out the end, I show it, and it's not like I have to ditch it or anything. It's an inherent part of the presentation, and I'm completely free to continue with my act after that. So I think from a presentation, hook, magic, and structure standpoint, it hits a lot of the marks for me. And by the way, that was the 1 degree change. It used to be on my Second Storm DVDs, I had a blue deck with just a red card, and it was all a trick about optical illusions, where you think
Mhm.
it's one way and it's the opposite way. And the 1 degree thing was just writing "pick me" on a red card. So it's not just just a red card for red card's sake. It's now a card with meaning, and the
Yeah.
meaning becomes the the presentation look in advertising, right? So anyway, a little bit of lessons tied in with a little context of a magic trick for you.
So good, dude.
Oh, good. I'm glad you like it. Yeah,
To me, that's one of those like magic tricks that doesn't feel like a trick.
it's
You
not a
know, it's
trick,
like
right? At the end of
I
the
love
day,
that so
I
much.
do mostly card magic, but I don't. A lot of it doesn't feel like card magic. Just like feels like an experience, right? Yeah. So I'm glad you saw that. I'm glad you saw that. And I want to highlight one other point about music and magic that I just noticed because you often see musicians are often doing 3 or 4 things at the same time. They're playing a chord, they're singing in a microphone, they're sort of expression, they're connecting the audience, and that's where mastery truly comes from. And magic, the same thing, right? You didn't see my face in there, but if I in a real audience, I'm doing all this stuff, trying to make it look elegant with a light touch, and but also carrying on the presentation in a very authentic way, and like that's hard to do. Like I think that's the part you can't teach in books too. You can read the instructions, you can learn the mechanics, but being able to do those at a level of um, like you don't even realize you're doing it, like that's true mastery. There's this thing that it's called, I'm gonna probably screw this up right now, like the ladder, like the ladder mastery, ladder of mastery. But there's these things. There's we know what we know. We don't know what we know. We know we don't know. Have you heard of this thing before? So yeah, so it says there's 4 different things you could oh God, I'm gonna forget all this stuff, but you could I don't know what I know. Like I have to learn. I just don't know anything about this. And then like I know what I know. I've done a lot of studying and I know these facts to be true. And but the one that's interesting is I don't know what I know. Like, what is that? What does that look like? That's the example is as if you're typing or you're driving. There's things that you're like almost subconsciously doing. You're on autopilot. You're typing and you're not saying I'm typing the letter R, typing the letter S. It's like I don't know even the things I know that I'm doing right now. So that's the level of mastery where you're like it's like you're not thinking to yourself, I'm consciously doing a double lift now, or this. You're doing it as you're focusing on other things. Because when you get to that level of fluid mastery with the handling, then you could focus on the audience, which to me, that's like the most critical part, honestly. So but I don't know any clever answer to that. It takes a gala of magicians to do that. There
Yes.
you go. You're welcome. I mean, my mission I have to connect people to the extraordinary is it. I mean, ultimately, my days, true in a very practical sense, are focused on my day job. I lead 2 nationwide foundations. I'm doing life-saving work, focused on youth. As a dad, it's meaningful to me. Um, Real quick, it's a recent job. I started just this past year, but I lead both Hyundai and Genesis, the car brand. Hyundai is like the third largest car manufacturer in the world now. It's innovation, uh, technology, but also really focus on giving back. So I lead all of their give back strategies. So, I'm helping potentially uncover research that's going to help save kids' lives who have cancer, because that's the focus of Hyundai's foundation. We're in our 25th year. We're having a gala event later this year in Washington, D.C. to celebrate our impact. But really, it's life changing, life saving work. On the Genesis side, that foundation it's a much different focus, but it's still focused on youth. But it's connecting youth to the arts, and that's obviously personally, professionally important to me because of music and magic. So I'm helping open kids' eyes to what's truly possible. So yeah, but I think uh, at the end of the day, I'm going to share this because yeah, that's what I do. It's what I do philanthropy. I'm making positive change. I'm weaving magic and music to inspire people. But at the end of the day, every day is a new opportunity to make a new discovery. And I've always asked people and challenged people to do this. Instead of keeping, if you don't journal, instead of writing a journal, like here's how I'm feeling, every day, wake up like, what am I gonna learn today? I'm gonna be open and present all day in any discussion I have, and I'm gonna try to discover something new that I can write down. So every day you write something new you've learned. So I'm talking about not just learning, like I'm going to go Google something and learn something. It's like look throughout the day, find a cool opportunity, listen, overhear a conversation at the store, talk to your friends, whatever, but find something new that you learn. And I think if you wake up each day with that mentality, that could be a little extra oomph to get you going in the morning. So uh, anyway, cool.
That's great.
All right. Yay.
All right, and we've got about 27 seconds to spare. So, John, follow-up question. Just kidding. Just
Oh
kidding.
my God. I know you